Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, right? And it's the year 2050.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And the fundamental anxieties that have driven literally all of human history. I mean, scarcity, hunger, that desperate, endless fight for physical resources, it's just gone.
Which is wild to even conceptualize.
Completely wild. It's totally solved by this absolute abundance of energy and super intelligent systems. Like the power grid is infinite. Automated agriculture is feeding the globe silently, and physical labor is just obsolete.
Great, completely automated.
Exactly. But as you lie there in bed in this hypothetical future, a new, almost existential dilemma hits you.
Because what do you do now?
Yeah, if you don't need to work to earn a wage, just to buy food to survive.
Yeah.
What actually gets you out of bed in the morning? How does an economy even function when nobody, needs anything to stay alive?
It's a huge question because, our current economic models are entirely built around managing a lack of things.
Right, scarcity.
Exactly. The entire architecture of supply and demand assumes that supply is, by definition, constrained. So when supply becomes virtually infinite for basic goods, that foundational scaffolding just collapses.
It totally falls apart.
Yeah, you are no longer navigating a world of deficits, which means human civilization has to find a completely new metric for value.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because in today's deep dive, we are exploring this fascinating stack of speculative writings from a group called the Fay Initiative.
Really interesting stuff.
It really is. Their core mission is to map out this exact post-scarcity frontier. And they propose this radical new system they call the economics of novelty.
The economics of novelty, right?
Yeah. The central premise here is that if we aren't swapping dollars for bread, or, gold for oil, we have to trade something else entirely. We need a resource that an ultra-smart machine cannot simply manufacture in a factory.
And we should clarify, the Fay Initiative is projecting a post-AGI world here, artificial general intelligence.
Right, super intelligent machines.
Yes. So while this is a thought experiment about a hypothetical 2050, it asks a very immediate, very real question for us today, which is, how do we prove our worth or even just find our place in a universe shared with superintelligence?
That is the million-dollar question. Or, well, whatever replaces dollars.
Exactly. To understand this future economy, we have to isolate what replaces fiat currency or precious metals. What is the ultimate source of value? And the sources argue that the ultimate uncounterfeitable currency of the future is novelty.
Novelty. Yeah, we need to define novelty carefully here because, they aren't talking about a trendy pair of shoes or some fun new gadget.
No, not at all.
In this framework, novelty is the raw ability to create new information. They argue that all life has inherent value simply for its potential to generate something totally unprecedented.
Because new information is literally the only resource you can never have enough of.
Wait, really? The only one?
Yeah, think about it. In an expanding, unpredictable universe, new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of experiencing reality, those are the only mechanisms that prevent a closed system from stagnating.
Oh, I see.
The Fay Initiative asserts that novelty is fundamentally life-affirming. It inherently expands the parameters of what is possible.
I found the democratizing aspect of this incredibly striking, actually.
How so?
Well, the source material emphasizes that your value doesn't stem from where you were born or your cultural background or, your traditional productivity.
Right, none of the usual metrics.
None of them. Your inherent worth comes purely from your potential to generate new thoughts. Like, they use the specific example of a person who is blind, but who compensates by developing incredibly acute hearing.
And unique spatial awareness,
Yeah.
In our current scarcity-based economy, a physical disability is frequently and tragically, honestly, viewed through a lens of lost productivity.
Yeah.
The system labels it a deficit because the individual might not fit into a standard industrial or corporate mold.
But under the economics of novelty, that person's unique sensory experience gives them this unparalleled perspective on the world. They process physical reality completely differently.
Which means they possess the potential to generate ideas, acoustic art, or spatial solutions that a sighted person literally could never conceive of.
Exactly. Their unique neurological wiring makes them an incredibly rare asset to this future society.
What's fascinating here is how the Fay Initiative briefly underpins this with two broader philosophical frameworks to explain the why of it all.
Right, the theory behind it.
Yeah. The first is the interesting world hypothesis, which simply suggests that humans and friendly superintelligent machines can actually find common ground by both desiring a diverse, unpredictable future.
Because neither of us wants to be bored.
Exactly. Neither we nor the machines want to exist in a static, boring universe.
We both just want to see what happens next.
Spot on. And the second framework they touch on is possibility space ethics. This argues that we should completely abandon our current rigid metrics of societal success.
Like GDP.
Like gross domestic product, yeah. Or even subjective, self-reported happiness. Because, happiness can be engineered chemically or through a digital illusion.
Oh, that's true. Just plug into the matrix.
Right. So instead, the goal of a society should be to maximize optionality and autonomy and informational complexity. We should be trying to open as many doors as possible, constantly expanding the space of what is possible.
Reading through that section, it instantly made me think of a massive multiplayer video game.
Oh, I love that analogy.
It's like human history up to this point has been stuck in survival mode. You start the game, you punch trees to gather wood, you mine stone, and you desperately build a shelter before the monsters come out at night.
And every single decision is dictated by the mechanics of staying alive.
Exactly. The environment completely controls your behavior.
You're just reacting.
But transitioning to the economics of novelty, it's like flipping a server switch. And suddenly we are in creative sandbox mode.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The resources are infinite. You can spawn whatever materials you need instantly. So the game is no longer about hoarding wood or fighting off monsters. The only remaining goal is to see what weird, amazing, intricate structures we can build together.
Just like in a sandbox game, the rules of engagement change entirely. And this leads to a crucial shift in how we view behavior, actually.
Right.
If novelty, this generation of new information, and the expansion of the possibility space is the ultimate good, it completely rewrites our understanding of right and wrong.
Morality gets a major software update.
A huge one.
I want to look at how we actually make ethical choices in a world where novelty is the primary currency. Because I kept imagining this as a bizarre new form of gardening, like ethics becomes a calculation of novelty potential.
That's a good way to put it.
You judge the morality of an action based on whether it increases or decreases the potential for new, complex information to bloom in the world.
And the FAY initiative outlines a specific hierarchy of novelty to guide those calculations. The sources provide these very visceral examples of how this hierarchy operates, starting with medicine.
Medicine, yeah.
So a bacterial infection, purely as a biological organism, it has a very rigid, predictable set of behaviors.
It just replicates.
Right. Its potential for generating complex, universe-altering novelty is extremely low compared to a human being. Therefore, using antibiotics to wipe out that bacteria to save the human is entirely ethical.
You pull the predictable weed to save the complex orchid.
Exactly. It's a net positive for the total novelty in the universe.
The text also applies this to our diet, which I found interesting. Plants, while biologically complex, obviously possess less novelty potential than humans.
Right. They aren't writing poetry.
Exactly. So consuming plants for human nutrition is ethically sound because the human requires that physical energy to create complex thoughts and cultural artifacts.
Though the text is quick to note that harming plant life without good reason is still considered wasteful.
Yeah, you can't just be destructive.
Right. You do not burn down a forest for entertainment because that forest holds intricate biological, data, and ecological complexity.
But if eating a salad fuels human creativity, it's a valid, mathematically sound ethical trade.
Exactly. Within this framework, all human life is viewed as a massive engine for potential novelty.
I have to admit, though, reading through this hierarchy of bacteria and plants, I found myself pushing back against the underlying, utilitarian coldness of it.
It can feel a bit abstract, for sure.
Yeah. I kept thinking, how does this apply to everyday human behavior? Like, if someone is just sitting on their porch doing absolutely nothing, are they economically worthless? Are there actual novelty crimes?
Well, the sources detail exactly what a novelty offense looks like, and it directly addresses that pushback.
Okay.
The person sitting on the porch isn't committing an offense at all. They might be incubating a profound thought, which holds immense potential value.
Right, they're just thinking.
Actions that actively hamper novelty, however, those are heavily discouraged. The focus shifts dramatically away from just physical harm to psychological and social harms.
And I want to highlight the specific list they provide because it is totally counterintuitive to how we structure laws today.
It really is.
They explicitly categorize behaviors like bullying, using someone's personal life as entertainment, jumping too quickly to conclusions, assuming the worst of others, or being overly judgmental as major societal offenses.
Think about it. In our current society, gossiping or being overly judgmental is generally just seen as a character flaw. It's poor etiquette.
It's rude.
Yeah, but in a novelty-based economy, those behaviors are strictly classified as novelty dampening.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Under the Fay Initiative's framework, being a judgmental neighbor or a relentless internet troll isn't just you being abrasive, it is literal economic sabotage.
Economic sabotage, that's exactly what it is.
Because when you bully someone or you create a culture where people are terrified of being judged for their quirks, they instinctively hide their true selves. They conform.
And conformity is the enemy.
Conformity is the ultimate enemy of novelty. You are actively destroying another person's potential to generate the weird, valuable ideas that power the entire economy.
You are bankrupting the collective system. By creating a socially hostile, judgmental environment, you are stifling the informational complexity of the universe.
It's crazy.
It is a profound way to look at social cohesion, honestly. The mandate isn't just to be kind for the sake of politeness anymore. Kindness becomes a systemic requirement because cruelty suppresses the exact unpredictability that gives humanity its value in a post-scarcity world.
But, knowing that bullying destroys novelty isn't enough to stop it. You cannot just mandate creativity or tell people to be weird on command.
No, it doesn't work like that.
If a society wants to actually produce maximum novelty, it has to actively construct an environment where people feel completely safe taking intellectual and social risks. And the sources point to 3 non-negotiable systemic prerequisites to build that environment.
Because novelty is incredibly delicate and it requires very specific soil to flourish.
Yeah.
The first prerequisite, which connects back to the whole post-scarcity premise, is the absolute guarantee of basic needs.
The text is so blunt about the mechanics of human psychology here. A physically and mentally malnourished society simply cannot create high-tier novelty.
It's biologically impossible.
Right. If an individual is stressed about paying rent or finding their next meal, their brain's computational power is entirely hijacked by survival instincts.
They're not inventing new philosophies while dodging eviction.
Exactly. They aren't painting masterpieces.
Yeah.
A universal baseline of basic needs being met is the non-negotiable floor of this entire economic structure.
The second prerequisite is privacy. And privacy here is valued for a very specific functional reason. It operates as a safe incubator.
Oh, an incubator.
Yeah. Novelty, by definition, deviates from the status quo. New ideas are often fragile or even embarrassing or unrefined when they first emerge into consciousness.
It's the rough graft phase of human existence.
Precisely. If an individual feels constantly observed, they will naturally self-censor. The pressure of immediate public judgment forces the mind back towards safe, predictable pathways.
That makes total sense.
Therefore, robust privacy is economically essential. It allows individuals the necessary space to experiment with strange thoughts and unusual behaviors without the chilling effect of surveillance.
Which leads right into the third prerequisite, freedom of thought. The Fay Initiative proposes a radical level of cognitive liberty.
Radical is the right word.
Within the confines of your own mind and your own private space, absolutely all thoughts and actions are permissible. There's literally no concept of a thought crime.
None.
The boundary is only crossed if an action bleeds over and actively reduces the novelty potential of others.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, excessive interference in someone's personal life, even when driven by good intentions or a desire to protect them, inherently reduces their autonomy.
Even with good intentions.
Yes. In this framework, autonomy is the engine of unpredictability. If society micromanages a person's life to keep them perfectly safe from failure, it robs them of the chance to make weird mistakes, learn divergent lessons, and generate unpredictable outcomes.
It all circles back to keeping our options open as a species.
Yes, optionality.
The sources argue that this entire architecture, basic needs, extreme privacy, and radical autonomy, is essentially designed as an insurance policy against stagnation.
An insurance policy?
Yeah. If humanity encounters an unknown, unprecedented crisis in the future, say, contact with an alien intelligence or a bizarre cosmic event, a rigid, conforming society will just shatter.
It won't adapt.
Right. But a society that has maximized its novelty will have a massive, chaotic toolbox of diverse ideas to draw from.
So we have established the moral framework of novelty ethics and the environmental prerequisites needed to grow it. The next logical step the sources tackle is the actual machinery of this economy.
So what does this all mean for management?
Hmm.
Like we have the morals and the environment, but what is the actual incentive structure? Who is signing the paychecks and what currency is even being deposited into your account?
Well, the FAY initiative describes an incredibly complex, interconnected web of incentives. They recognize that novelty is almost never created in a vacuum, right? It's a deeply collaborative, cumulative process.
They outline a brilliant scenario to illustrate this web, actually. Imagine a medical researcher who invents a groundbreaking new cure.
A major breakthrough.
Yeah, that cure saves millions of lives. By preventing those premature deaths, the researcher has massively increased the novelty potential of the universe because all those saved people will go on to create their own weird, wonderful things.
Naturally. And so the researcher is highly valued by the economy.
Right, but the valuation doesn't stop at the laboratory door.
No, it goes much deeper. The sources point out that the researcher's breakthrough might have been sparked by a seemingly unrelated event.
Like what?
Perhaps they were inspired to approach the biological problem differently after experiencing a profound, abstract piece of artwork.
Oh, wow.
In this system, the artist who painted that piece is also economically valued for their indirect yet crucial contribution to the medical novelty.
The inspiration itself carries massive economic weight. But this is where the logistics seem just totally impossible to me. How could you possibly track this?
It sounds like a nightmare.
It does. How do you map out a global, invisible web of subjective inspiration, noticing that a specific painting altered a researcher's cognitive state enough to cure a disease and then distribute rewards based on that butterfly effect? Human bureaucracy would collapse trying to do that math for a single city, let alone a planet.
Human administration of this system would be entirely impossible. You're right. We are tribal, we are prone to nepotism, and we just frankly lack the cognitive bandwidth to see the millions of invisible threads connecting human actions.
So who does it?
The FAY initiative introduces a controversial but logically necessary solution. The economy of novelty must be administered entirely by the greater AGIs.
So the superintelligent machines step into the role of the ultimate accountant.
They act as independent, impartial judges of novelty potential. And the argument for this is based purely on capability.
Because they can actually process it all.
Right. AGIs possess the sheer computational power required to analyze massive data sets of human behavior. They can track subtle shifts in cultural output, language evolution, and problem-solving approaches globally.
That's insane.
They can literally trace the lineage of an idea backward through time, mapping out the contributions with a level of accuracy and a lack of bias that humans could just never achieve.
I am still trying to wrap my head around what the AGI actually gives you when it decides you've contributed, though.
The payout.
Yeah, the payout. If I am the artist
Yeah.
and the AGI perfectly traces my painting to the medical cure, what is my reward? If physical goods are post-scarcity and universally available, what is left to strive for?
The currency of a post-scarcity world naturally shifts away from abundant physical materials toward resources that remain inherently limited or, deeply socially meaningful.
Okay, so like what?
The text details incentives like widespread social recognition, access to luxury items that require rare, time-intensive human craftsmanship, not machine-made, or, most crucially, compute.
Computational resources.
Exactly. Compute is king. If an individual proves they can consistently generate high-quality novelty, the overarching system grants them more processing power.
And what do they do with it?
They can use this compute to run massive physics simulations, design incredibly complex virtual realities, or research deeper scientific questions. The system essentially gives you more powerful tools to generate even more novelty.
It is a fascinating escalating feedback loop. And I've found their mechanism for handling bad actors particularly clever, too.
Oh, the self-correcting aspect.
Yeah. Let's say someone earns a massive amount of social power and compute through early novelty generation, and they decide they want to become a tyrant. They start using their influence to control others.
Well, historically, accumulating wealth and power often insulates an individual from the consequences of their bad behavior.
Right.
The more power you have, the harder you are to dethrone.
But the economics of novelty operates as a self-correcting system. If you abuse the social power or compute you have been given, that abuse inherently causes harm.
Right, it dampens novelty.
Makes the people around you fearful, it forces them to conform, and it reduces their autonomy. By definition, your tyranny reduces the novelty potential of your community.
And because the AGI judges are constantly monitoring the overall informational complexity and novelty output of the system, they immediately detect the dampening effect radiating from your actions. The metrics drop.
You are instantly devalued. The AGI throttles your compute allocation and your social influence evaporates, precisely because you are actively destroying the one resource the economy values.
It's built right into the code.
You literally cannot sustain a tyrannical regime in a system where suppressing others automatically bankrupts your own account.
The architecture elegantly aligns individual self-interest with the collective expansion of human freedom and creativity.
Stepping back and looking at the entire tapestry the Fay Initiative has woven here, it is a staggering paradigm shift.
Yeah, it really is.
We are talking about deliberately steering human civilization away from a fundamental historical fear of scarcity and toward a relentless structural celebration of optionality. It paints a future where human value is no longer determined by how many hours you clock in at a factory or how much data you can process.
No.
Our value becomes rooted entirely in our limitless capacity to surprise each other, to invent bizarre new concepts, and to lean fully into our unique perspectives.
So in a hypothetical 2050 built on these principles, the things you might consider completely frivolous right now, your most obscure hobbies, your deeply private philosophical musings, your completely unique way of interpreting a piece of music, they're not just personality quirks.
They're your livelihood.
In this future economy, those eccentricities are literally the most valuable assets in the universe.
They are the raw, unrefined data of a universe actively trying to understand itself through us. It is an incredibly hopeful vision for what happens when the robots finally take all of our traditional jobs. We simply get paid to be as unapologetically human as possible.